So good evening from our waterside bow end. It is now free of bow tanks, which we had to supplement our water up until now. I've promised to do a separate video on the WaterFreedom system that we now have. We are a week into it, just over a week, so it's early days, and a disclaimer that anything we say is not endorsed by the company, but this is just how we are finding it and what we do when we fill water. So I thought what we do is Jamie will give you a demonstration of how the system runs and the various filters and etc, etc. And then at the end I will do a Q&A session formulated from the many comments that were put on 2 wide beam groups and a narrowboat group as well. All I can say is it's been an absolute game changer for us. I can now do as much washing as I want. I can have a deep bath, I can wash the boat, I can fill my plants, I can do all sorts of things without having to worry about water. But the biggest thing of all is that Jamie works, and he works full time. So we were finding that every 2 weeks we had to move the boat to the next water point. And as many of you know, particularly up the K&A, there aren't that many water points. So we were finding that we were absolutely exhausted after a 2-day cruise, trying to get to the next water point, and then to find that there were 2 or 3 people queuing for it, which I dare say will get worse as the summer hots up and everybody's on holiday. So we went to the Crick Boat Show and went to the WaterFreedom counter, the stall, and had a chat with the chaps on there. And basically when we got back, Jamie said to me, that is a must. It's going to make such a difference to our lives. And he's right. It really has made a difference. So enough of me. I'm going to get him to show you the system himself. And if you have any comments at the bottom, please let us know what they are, or any questions, and we can divert you straight back to WaterFreedom, who have been superb with the installation and for any questions we've had, and they've been marvellous. So watch on, enjoy, and let us know what you think. This is what it looks like before it's filtered. As many of you know. Beautiful view though. Lots of greedy ducks around here, I have to say.
Okay. Hello everybody. So as Sally said, this is an absolute game changer for us. What makes it a game changer? Endless amounts of water. What's the concerns? You're sucking up canal water, filtering it, and then using it to shower, etc, etc. A lot of my friends and family and customers have said you're basically washing in canal water. No, the system is filtering it through to acceptable levels to be able to. It's actually we tested it with a special tester, and it's actually better. Sorry, I've been interrupted by a new dog who, as you can see here, just tried to jump off the 2 foot into the canal, and I just had to pull him back, and he's saying, "Dad, why are you being nasty to me?" And so no, it's very willful. So we'll just get over here, won't we? That was a good boy. All right, okay. So as I was saying, we've tested the water, the special water testing electrical kit, and the filtration system that we have in our tank that we pump is actually slightly better than the drinking water you get from your tap. Now I know that varies, and people say, "Oh, I'm in a borehole" or what have you, but this is better than London drinking water. So this is better than London drinking water. However, you don't want to drink this water. It is safe to drink from a filtration point of view, and I'll run through the system. But what you have in the canal is farmers with pesticides and all those kind of things that leach into the canal. That's something that needs a nitrate and a nitrite filter, and WaterFreedom are working on that, and I will talk to you about that later, and how we combat and how we drink canal water. So you have two external taps here. This one here, which I have in my hands here, this goes over into the canal and sucks up canal water and then filters it. The second one you have, which is here, is the reverse of the system. So this is the flush. So when you go to use it for the first time in a day or two, you want to flush the system through to ensure that you are actually storing in your water tank fresh filtered water. So with this, we give it 3 or 4 minutes. And what this does, we use this water. I clean my solar panels, we top up the plants, and we clean the deck and so on. Also, I can attach my hose pipe to this and I can clean my boat. So I'm going to show you what you do. This goes into the drink. And this one is the flush, so it will flush out. We need to make sure it's not going to spin around and backfire, so we'll leave that one there. Okay, so this wants to go a couple of inches in the water, like so you can't see it. Okay, so the pipe that sucks the water up needs to be the opposite side to the canal bank for obvious reasons. You want to have not water with excess sediment. You will go through your filter, so it goes over to the opposite side into the canal. Let's go inside the boat to talk about the system and start it up. Okay, so in our spare room, this is where, well, we now have a compost toilet, but this is where the septic tank went for our toilet. So we cut it out, took it out, we use this as storage. So now this is where the system goes. Ideally, you want the system inside, so it's protected from the elements and the cold and the heat. You can have it outside, but then you would need to insulate with a box or something. So the system we have here, let me explain. You have a series of filters, 6 filters or 5 filters with a spare. So the pump pumps the water from outside. It goes through a 50 micron filter, a 5 micron filter, a 1 micron filter, a hydrocarbon filter that filters out various oils and bits and pieces, heavy metals and pesticides, and then this one, WaterFreedom are working on, this will be for nitrates and nitrites. So in theory, you could then drink the water from this system. You also have, once you filtered, you also have an ultraviolet, a UV light. And for those that don't know, UV will kill the bacteria element. So we're filtering out all the harmfuls, and then we are technically, the water passes through the tube and it kills any certain bacteria that are fine to go through that. The system has a fail safe on the ultraviolet. Green is good, red is not good. So it tells you when the lamp needs to be changed. Okay, so now let's fire the system up. So you switch your power on. It has its own electrical supply of constant 12 volts for the pump. You have your circuit breaker, and here, if you can show, you have, this is in flush, so this will now spit out over the pipe, and then when we clean the system, it will backfill. So our system is connected so that it will backfill into the water tank, so we don't need to pop a hose pipe into the water tank. Okay, so let's switch the system on. Power on, ultraviolet light is on, and that will need to warm up. We're green, which means we're good to go, it's working correctly. Now we will start the pump, which will make a noise, and we will flush the system for around about 4 to 5 minutes. Here we go, it's noisy. So So, initial filter in to make sure we're not going to damage the pump, and then it is flushing through. Let us go back outside. Now we're back outside, the system started, we are flushing. So this water is being filtered from said suction here, and this is, we are flushing the system through to make sure it's clean before we divert to our main tank. So I will calm this down. And
it's just a normal hose.
I will now not waste this water. I will now clean. I will now water our plants and clean our deck area. So we're going to filter the water. As I've said, it's going to go into our water storage tank, and it's clean water. Obviously with tap water it has chlorine in to preserve it slightly. We need to preserve our water tank because obviously if you have something that's fresh over time it could go stale and so on. So to keep our tank fresh we use chlorine tablets. So what we will do, we've got about half a tank to fill. So here is it. This is the Aquamidi water purifying tablets, chlorine tablets.
And they're the ones recommended.
Yeah, half a tablet. Now I'm going to dilute this in some warm water or water, because obviously when I pop this tablet into where we would have filled before with a hose, it may get stuck on the side and not dissolve. So I want it to dissolve as I'm backfilling the water so that it's chlorinating the water for preserving that water. So I'm now gonna, that's in some lukewarm water just to help the tablet dissolve. So I'm gonna make sure the tablet is all the way dissolved. Yeah, so the tablet is more or less dissolved. Right, tablet dissolved. We'll now fill this in the tank. Okay, so we pop that into our filler. Right, so now I've put the diluted half a chlorine tablet into the inlet for the water, and now the system is flushed through. The ultraviolet is nice and warm. It will now do its job. I'm now going to switch from flush to fill. Now we are backfilling through our system to top our tank. So technically there would be no reason for me to go outside and fill the tank from a hose. We are now filling, and in about 10 or 12 minutes time, it's around about 12 psi, 10-12 litres a minute it will fill. So it's quicker than your average garden hose. So we tested with a special test that you get with this, which is a zero jug. This is a beefier version of a Brita water filter in our opinion. So the filter in here is quite expensive. It's about £10-12, but you could literally put red wine in there and get water out. So what we do, we drink from this. So what we do,
and we cook with it as well, don't we?
We cook with it. So we have an existing water tap that has a filter on and also a small UV lamp. So we've already got filtered UV water stored, and when we want to do our drinking water we use this. But what we do, whether it's right or wrong, it is what we do, is we pop it in here. So we're just being more belt and braces really, with another finer filter and a small UV. So the water, if there's any bacteria from the tank, which I doubt because of the chlorination.
And the nitrates and the nitrites, this is the only filter that does that.
This is a zero jug, so it takes out between 70 and 80% nitrates and nitrites. And I want to talk to you about nitrates and nitrites. So, as I mentioned before, the filter system, when we checked it on our digital reader, is better than average tap water for purity. When we pop it through the zero jug, it shows us 0,000, which is the purest water you can get. So this is the purest water you can get on the digital reader that we have. We've tested, I won't mention the brands, we've tested a bottled water from certain known supermarkets, and it was worse than our filtered canal water on testing. The better water, mineral water you can get was not much better. So make of that what you will. So what we want to get rid of now is the nitrates and nitrites, the nasty stuff that comes off, possibly off the fields. You could drink it. It's a bit like lead in the water. You can drink it for, I don't know, a long time, years, and it will absorb into your bones. But when you reach a certain toxicity level, obviously it's not good. So we don't know. The WaterFreedom are very professional, and they tell you that it is as good as Thames drink, not Thames, but as the London drinking water. But they are very, very professional in saying that it is up to the individual, and they mention about the nitrates and nitrites. And in our personal opinion, this zero jug, and we've been drinking it for over a week and we're absolutely fine, is the way forward. It's still cheaper than buying bottled water, and it is a good system to use. And we test the water regularly, and when it gets to a certain level on the zero tester, 0.00 is pure. So to test, I've got the TDS tester.
That came with the jug, didn't it?
With the jug. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to pour some water in a clean jar. I'm going to turn this on, and it reads 000.
Show, let's have a look.
Okay, 000.
Yeah.
I'm going to pop it in here.
Does it almost instantly, doesn't it?
And what does it say? I can't read.
No, I can't either.
It's still 000, which is the purest water you can get. Okay, so now we're going to do from our tank filtered water from the canal. And now we're going to test it. Okay, so let's see what that says. Okay, that says 245. 45 is around about average-ish tap water.
Sorry.
Now I'm using our filter and our UV, not zero jug, filter and UV, and let's see what we get. So tap water's coming up at 234, which is average tap water from a house. So this is our filtered water with the UV, and this will read 233, so there's no difference than our water from the tank, which proves that it's doing its job. Right, so I'm now going to drink canal water, filtered through our system, now through the zero jug. Bottoms up.
How does it taste, love?
Actually, it's absolutely fine. It's beautiful. It's the purest water. 000. Very good. Cheers, everybody. Okay, Sal, so we've got some questions. Price for system and options. So the water feeder system we had that is installed in our boat was 2,750. We wanted our install to go inside, obviously to protect it from the elements, the heat and the cold, and the labour for that was £250, including the parts. And then to plumb to the tank as well was £250, and we bought a year's supply from WaterFreedom of sediment filters, hydrocarbon and heavy metals at £170. So we paid for the system £3,420. So WaterFreedom recommend that you don't drain your tank to empty and refill. They recommend that you get to a quarter of a tank or half a tank and you refill, because the pump is excellent, but obviously you don't really want to run it for hours and hours. It will get hot and could cause problems. So for the longevity of the system, it's best that you do little and often, for two reasons. Number one, you take the pressure off the pump, and number two, you keep the filters and everything fresh and rolling forward. Okay, So we had a question, chlorine to the tank. Do we add chlorine to the tank and the UV filters? So you've seen us put whatever the amount that you want to fill the tank by, whether it be you want a quarter in there or a half in there or what have you. You would put a chlorine tablet. You can tell if you've put too much in, you can smell the chlorine. It's no bad thing. It's securing, well, basically keeping your tank clean. To answer a question about Legionnaire's disease, if you don't know what Legionnaire's is, look it up, but it can be very nasty. You get Legionnaires from dirty air conditioning systems or dirty water. So the filtration system we have, I believe, there is no issue with Legionnaires. Legionnaires needs to be at a certain temperature to expand,
flourish, yeah.
grow. As far as I'm aware, I'm not an expert. This is my personal opinion. Don't take it as read. Read up on it. But the UV filter. So with the system that we have has a series of 3 micro filters that get finer and finer and finer. There are 2 other filters that are for clearing hydrocarbons and heavy metals, and then it goes through a UV light which will kill any bacteria, and I'm assuming we need Legionnaires. I believe Legionnaires needs around about 35 degrees to really multiply, so I believe we're okay on that score. Okay, so some of you are saying this sounds expensive. The system isn't cheap. It's a great system. It's tried and proven. We've been using it now for a week and a half, and we will do some more tests in 6 months' time to see how the filters lasted. The main thing, as far as we see it, there are 3 sediment filters that will obviously get clogged within 1 to 3 months, and they're the filters that you would change on a regular basis. The other 2 filters are a little bit more expensive, but they will last you around about a year to 18 months. So you change them, say, once a year. Your 3 micron filters that go finer, 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 you would change between 1 and 3 months. And I reckon, personally, I've done a calculation, and that the system, the filter system, when we change them, will cost about £112 to £113 a year for every day. That equates to, from our point of view personally, I think it will be around about 28-30 pence a day for the filters. Okay, so one other question was how much power does it draw? Obviously, being on a boat, power is everything to us, as water is. So we worked out from our Victron battery monitor, being at 100%, obviously we're cruising the cut, so we're continual cruisers. We worked out the battery draw was around about 3% at 15 to 18 minutes, and that was just about half a tank to fill. Right, another question is about why not use reverse osmosis. The system is £500, £400, they're sensible money. Reverse osmosis, and again, this is my opinion from what I know, reverse osmosis rejects, it bleeds through a membrane, and I believe it rejects around about 80 to 90% of the water, and that is wasteful, and it's not what we want. And the final question that we've had so far is, what happens if the UV filter fails? You could be sending bacteria into the water tank. Quite right. That's why this has a UV ballast indicator. And in my simple mind, in my opinion, when the light is green and it says good, when the light goes red, it's bad. You stop the system, you switch off, let the UV cool down. You would then replace the UV lamp. How often do you replace the UV lamp? Depends how often you use it. But because you switch it on prior to warm up and switch it off when you filled, then I would imagine it would last a very long time. Okay, so we've just completed a fill. We were just over half full, and that took about 18 minutes to fill. Yeah. Okay, another question was about reverse osmosis systems, and that they're a lot cheaper and would do the job. We do not believe they would do, because we are sucking up canal water and filtering it. Reverse osmosis is through membranes, and the rejection of the water is between 80 and 90%, which is not efficient. in a canal boat while cruising the cut. However, WaterFreedom know what they're talking about, so go to the site and have a look at that. So we had some questions that were asked, again, further questions. Some of the important ones, or we felt were important, we asked the questions to WaterFreedom, and they have answered us. So I will take my glasses off to read. Number 1, filter costs. The 3 sediment filters, that's the bigger filter and the smaller filters, will need to be changed most often between 1 and 3 months. A box of 24, enough for 18 months or longer, is £70, and the other filters, as I mentioned before, are 50 quid each, but they will last 12 months. Okay, another question was algae. What do you do about algae? The answer from WaterFreedom is the main system filters down to 1 micron, which is very small. So algae is removed before entering the tank. In areas of very high algae concentration, in other words in the canal, there is sometimes discoloration, but this is unusual. Okay, some of you have asked where to install the system, and the reply is there are several factors to consider here. Firstly, we, WaterFreedom, recommend the system is installed inside, where it's away from both summer heat and extreme winter cold. The most common installation place is under the gunwale.
Gunnel.
Or even the gunnel. Well, you've written gunwale.
No, that's how it's spelled though.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Oh, right, okay. which with heat rising and being mostly below the waterline is usually the one to consider the coolest place on the boat. So the next question is, how do you kill bacteria? Okay, so the water passes through a UV ultraviolet tube to kill bacteria, viruses and cysts. The effectiveness of UV sterilisation depends on strength of the UV light and the length of time the water is exposed to the light. UV tubes are rated by the flow rate at which sterilisation is effective. A standard WaterFreedom system produces around 10 litres per minute, but the UV tube is rated at 25 litres per minute. Okay, WaterFreedom recommends that you use the system regularly for short periods. 20 minutes twice a week is much better for the system than an hour every 10 days. We discussed this earlier on. With each use, the system should be flushed for 1 or 2 minutes before the water is sent to the tank. Not only does this help keep the system healthy, but significantly extends the life of the pump. Not only will this help keep the system healthy, but significantly extends the pump life by avoiding very long run times. The combination of these measures will prevent the presence of pathogens in the water system. Okay, so to elaborate on the question of reverse osmosis, this is the official line from WaterFreedom. Reverse osmosis, RO, it's not really a viable method for cleaning water on general use on a boat. There are several reasons for this. Number 1, water passes through reverse osmosis membranes very slowly and requires high pressure, which requires power. Bigger membranes will produce greater water flow, but also means even more pressure needs to be generated, which means even more power. Not good on a boat. Number 2, the water would need to be extensively cleaned to WaterFreedom standards before entering the reverse osmosis or the membranes, and this will clog very quickly. RO systems or reverse osmosis systems are usually very wasteful of extensively pre-filtered water. Most ROs reject more than 80% of the water put into them, meaning to get 1 litre of water, at least 4 litres ends up overboard. Once the water is in the tank, a dilute chemical should be added to ensure that nothing can grow in the tank, hence the chlorinated tablets. WaterFreedom uses Aqua Mega tablets, which we've used, which can be obtained from most chandlers as well as Halfords and Amazon. So that's the end of the small amount of questions that we have. It's really important to state, and I know that Sally has said this at the start of the video, this is our system. This is we're drinking the water, not you, the general public. And it is important to say this is how we do, not how you should do. So this is just what we do. We are not, we are, please don't come back and say, oh, you said this, that's not right, this is this and that's that. This is our personal opinion from what we know. We take the responsibility to do that, to use the system and to drink the water, and it is down to us. So thank you. Okay. So we hope you've enjoyed this little ditty on our water system, and there's nothing more for us to say than, if you have questions, we will gladly answer them in our ignorance and bliss. We are only a couple of weeks into this. We will do another session on this in a few months' time when we've lived a bit more with the system. But I have to say, we are very pleased. It gives us the freedom to fill when we want and to stay where we want if we enjoy somewhere, and not worry about CRT water pipes and the flow rate or anything like that. We can do everything and clean our boats, and so there's nothing more for us to say than thank you for watching.
Please like and subscribe,
and any positive questions we will gladly answer to the best of our ability. If you want to know more, you can go to WaterFreedom, and the link will be
in the description underneath.
Somewhere down there. And thank you for watching through our drivel, and there's nothing else to say other than a lovely fresh glass of canal water
that's been filtered
through our zero jug,
and we say
then cheers,
cheers
and happy water.